But no, Beth, your goes crashing down. Determination, the suffering, the ability to... And she's unleashed everything in this attack. See just how much that win means to him. All the marvels. Kayla versus Allison, and to the line. Kayla Laguna takes the victory. Hello everybody, and welcome to the CVRcade World Cup Grand Finale. At long last, it is here. The $25,000 prize purse tournament, it is here. We've been racing for 9 weeks, and through today and tomorrow, we'll be crowning the first ever Season 1 CVRcade World Cup Grand Finale champion. I can't wait. The racers can't wait. I've been speaking to a few of them through the week, and the nerves are just building on up. Now, today, we're going to have 12 riders qualify straight on through to the semifinals on Sunday. A few riders, I think 9 or 10, will not be making it through, and they'll have to duke it out in the lower bracket, where only 4 will go on through. We've got 8 races to separate the racers today. 8 grueling races, 90 minutes of racing, and I simply cannot wait. But there is some news that broke prior to the racing today. Some news I think we need to address, because Casey Shum, prior to racing today, the news were being broke that you were joining Team Cycling Hub. Is this true or false?
True or false? I'm just warmed up focusing on the racing. There's a lot of mind games going on. But it is getting kind of warm in here, so...
That was not really a true or a false answer. That is absolutely next level, Casey. So what made you join Team Cycling Hub?
They're a great team.
And the money and everything last week, does any of that have to play here?
Yeah, Tim won good money. It's good to have teammates that have some money. I won some good money too, yeah.
How long has this been in the makings? Because that shirt to get all the way to the US, I mean, that must have been a bit of a shipment period.
We ordered this shirt about an hour and a half ago, I think.
Well, Casey, I'll let you get back to it. I'm sure we'll see some of the racing unfold today. A lot of the racers worried about this move. How does it affect them? One of the strongest racers on the podium of the bracket session tournament, now joining perhaps the strongest team on the platform. Later on, Frank Garcia, my co-commentator, is going to join me. I can't wait to get his take on it. But before the racing begins, we've also got Jennifer Garcia in the broadcast. She was a bright spot in the bracketed session tournament, and now she gets to go again. Jennifer, 8 races ahead of you today. How do you feel?
Ooh, I've ever done. I know a lot of people often do multiple omniums, so they're a little bit more prepared for this, I think, when they do them back to back. So I'm a little bit worried, but I'm just hoping for, between like 3rd and 4th on a few, and then just in the top 12 on the other one. So I'm really going for just making it in the top 12. That's my hope. So that's where I'm at today.
Solid strategy. I'll let you get back to your team and discuss strategy. But joining me in the booth today for the next 2.5 hours, it's going to be so much fun. Frank Garcia, Team X principal. Now, Casey Shum, jumping ship from a team you helped found to Team Cycling Hub. What do you make of this?
Traitor. What I really make of it is he took off an absolutely gorgeous jersey to display that god-awful ugly thing with the CH on it. That'll be interesting. I'll tell you what will be interesting is I think the gloves are going to come off with the other teams who might have been reaching sort of a truce with Cycling Hub, but now all bets are off.
Now, the first race is going to get underway. We have 8 races ahead of us, and we have got, I think, 25 races on the start line here. The most contested race I've ever seen on CVRcade, and that's because Season 1 of the CVRcade World Cup is coming to an ending here, Frank. No skill event with this many racers, Frank. What's going to happen here?
Yeah, this will be interesting. Big blob, right? So massive blob here, and you see Jennifer on the front, and she might shoot out the back by slowing down too much and get surprised.
You've got one comeback kit available here in the no skill event. How you're going to use that is a big question mark because there's simply so many racers. As there's already a few out the back, Niels Heldens.
Yeah, there's a split at the front. So the big blob is not the big blob. There's a small blob at the front running pretty hard.
Tim Fulford is at the back. He's getting back on now with comeback kit. So he is already down in 13th. And with comeback kit, he's not really making it back. So we saw this in the bracketed session tournament, Frank. First race jitters from Tim Fulford.
Tim always seems to be off in the first race. And he's, really off the back here, quite a ways, trying to make his way back. But not a surprise that Tim gets caught out in the initial set.
Quentin Molyneux is also down there. Kale Laguna, Moti Pikelny, Jonathan Heron. There's some big names down there. And you've got Daniel LeBlanc who's up here now with 200 meters to go. The sprint begins. Casey Shum, Team Cycling Hub, new edition, gives it everything on the front. Ryan Goldenberg is there. Timothy Tamont, Alison Kubota, Beth York. Impossible to tell which pixel from which. But Frank, 77 kilometers an hour at the top end as we wait for the results to finalize.
Yeah, that was amazing. You had a lot of people up near the front, and so it'll be. It looks like Casey takes it. So that was very close, but he did definitely put down the watts. So you got. A whole bunch of people all the way through 12th. You got Casey, Aaron, Nigel, Ryan, Timothy, Beth, Ellison, Ben, Jennifer, Daniel, Niels, and Christian. Maybe Christian's a little bit upset at the Team X defection, and so maybe he's going to up his game.
You see, in a second we'll cut to the screen. You can see the full results here. Casey, Aaron second place. Good start for Aaron here. Nigel up there as well. But Casey, that first race, first victory, how important is it to get out to a strong start?
It's important. That first race is the lowest point multiplier. But, it feels good, right? It's a good boost to start the day. Keep your head in it. So, yeah, it's good.
Now, the split happened quite early on there. Did you notice that half the peloton was missing?
I didn't really until I heard it from you guys now. We went out pretty hard. Once you're in that pack, you're safe. It's just making sure you get with it when you start.
Well, now Echelon comes up. I'll let you get ready. I want to hear from some of the other riders in the stream as well. Moti Pikelny, team principal of Team Cognition. What do you think about this shake of the landscape? You've seen the racing. You've raced against Team X. Now, one of your biggest competitors joining one of the strongest teams.
I'm excited. I think the bigger news, or as big news, is Jonathan Heron coming over to Cognition.
Oh, really?
So we've got an even stronger squad than ever before. And we're excited to duke it out with these other teams. It's really cool to see things coalescing, and it shows how high stakes the racing is. People are moving around trying to find their positions, and it's just awesome.
Jonathan moving over to your team, that is a massive addition. He's getting better and better and better. What are you expecting from your teammates today, Moti?
We are going to work together and do as well as we can, get as many of us, if not all of us, into the finals tomorrow, and try to keep some ready to go. A lot of racing over the next 2 days, a lot of teamwork.
I'll let you get back to your team. I know the wind here in Echelon, 14 kilometers an hour, will play a role. We've also got Ben Shuey along here in the broadcast team, CCC. They've been getting better and better. Ben, you got so close in the bracketed session tournament. Now it all gets real again. How are you feeling ahead of the racing?
I'm feeling pretty good. Yeah, I've been doing my homework, looking at the corner speeds, and Team CC have got the game audio on the go. So yeah, hopefully we can get some consistent results and make it in the top 12. That's the aim.
Name of the game, top 12. I'll let you get back to your team, and then Frank and I can discuss, because Echelon, Frank, was one of the tracks that we didn't really get to see in the practice events because we did have some technical difficulties. Hopefully we don't see those today. How does that change the dynamic? They haven't really been able to practice this in a race environment.
Well, this is the aptly named, right? We built it during testing so that we could test Echelon, the wins, and how that all worked out and all that. With the technical difficulties that we experienced on the test runs this week, people haven't really tested this, and the Echelon is big. It will make a huge difference in this race.
Here we go, Echelon, 14 kilometers an hour wind. That will be, I think it'll be a crosswind from the left here initially as we get out of the gate. Everybody sprinting out here. And how important is it to link up with your teammates early on, Frank?
Very important, and it's also very, very important to make the first echelon. So the first rule of echeloning is to make the first one, because you can only have 9 positions across the road, and so you got to be in the first 9, or otherwise you typically get gapped and you don't get back.
Oh my goodness, look at this top 3 out on course right now. Aaron Starlin, Jennifer Garcia, Daniel LeBlanc. This is great to see them off to an early start. Aaron getting second in the last race. How badly do you think Aaron wants to perform well here today and not have to ride the Summit Islands come tomorrow?
Oh, I think it's huge for him, and I think he's looking to score a lot of points early because we do kind of expect Aaron to fade towards the end. He needs, he hasn't shown a great endurance so far through the season, but he's got great skill in gameplay. So I think what he's trying to do is really make something happen in these early races and, hold the lead till the end there to stay in the top 12.
We have a split here, so we've got 4 or 5 riders in the front here with Kayla, Beth, Peter. What we're seeing here, Frank, is that everyone kind of came in feeling somewhat confident about getting top 12. They thought, you know what, top 12 seems manageable. But early on here, I mean, Aaron, Daniel, Jennifer, they're upsetting some of the big guns here as Nigel goes down. There are some big riders losing out on points, such as MochiP Kelly and Cognition once more.
Well, and I think one of the things they're not taking into account as you see the big echelon forming here is that when you get down into those lesser positions, sort of, 8th, 9th, 10th, and especially, 11th and 12th, the differentials in points is only like, 0.5. And so you don't get these big gaps. So you could finish top 12 all the way and still be in jeopardy towards the end. But you see this echelon forming at the front. And as long as they continue to go hard, it's going to be hard for, people to come back.
This must bring a massive smile to your face, Frank, because I know you're a massive fan of the pack riding dynamics. This is arguably the biggest group we've ever really seen race in CVRcade, and we've got 2 groups trying to keep one another at bay, taking turns echeloning out on course.
Yeah, absolutely, and this just goes to show that the dynamics in the game, the physics of the wind and the pack dynamics really work as you'd expect them to.
Now we see in this front group, we've got Jennifer Garcia, Aaron Starlin teammates. We've got Ben Shui Long, and I believe there's another CC rider in here as well. It's an attack from Tim. Tim attacking the corner speed here, knowing that corner speed gets a gap here. Be interesting to see if he continues over the top or he seems to sit up. Quentin Molinez goes with him, so cycling up out to an attack here. And Daniel LeBlanc, Frank, he has really come through the racing this last week, and he's looking good today.
Yeah, absolutely. And you see them sort of moving out here. Tim's laying down some power, which is a little bit interesting. You've got Niels Helden just off the back here trying to make this front echelon. And then you've got maybe Jonathan at the back on, I think he's on the, is he on the correct side of the echelon? Maybe he is. Maybe it's Jennifer that's out, in the wind. But everybody trying to get maximum draft here across the road.
Yes, the wind is coming from the right to the left. So whoever's on the left side here is getting maximum draft. So Jennifer Garcia currently on the right is experiencing no draft. Meanwhile, you've got Tim, you've got Ben, you've got Jonathan. If he gets further up, they're getting that draft percentage. And it's 14 kilometers an hour, so it's a massive wind as we get to see Kayla and Tim side by side here. As Jonathan is taking a rider out of the group, Frank. Jonathan Heron just took out Niels Heldens from the front group.
And that's the block it maneuver here is just a great maneuver, because if you get back to the echelon, you are really causing some people to burn some matches here to get back on, and then every corner is danger.
Oh, we get on through here. Jennifer Garcia slowing down early to not crash, so going slow in order to go quick. If we look further down, Casey Shum winning the first race as Moti P. Kelly goes down in the corner. No one is safe. Casey won the first race, but it's only a one scoring multiplier. And here, Frank, he's going to have to spend a lot of energy to get back on, because in the rules state that you have to finish all 8 races, all 8 events in order to qualify for Sunday's racing, so you've got to make the time cut.
Yeah, so, you go from it's okay, I don't need to finish high in this race. It's a long day, to holy, I need to get at least close to stay within the time cutoffs.
Moti P. Kelly currently last out on course. Frank, you were the one saying that perhaps his heart rate shows that he's so high, he's not feeling good. They've got Daniel LeBlanc up there. There's plenty of racing left to be had in here. But now, on Echelon, more and more riders are making that front group. We're over halfway. Remember, we've got 8 races here today, and this is just the beginning. And we're seeing Tim Fulford's experience come on display here, Frank. While everyone is braking coming into the corner, Tim is accelerating through it.
Yes, but someone could catch him out, right? They could pull the cycling hub maneuver on him and half wheel him and watch him go bye-bye. So he's got 2 more corners to navigate, or 1.5, and then he maybe gets a win here.
I absolutely love Jonathan on the block and rocket. He just took out Jeff Rooney from this front group. So he is single-handedly one by one trying to gap riders. And I spoke to him in an interview that went live today. And he said, you know what? I do the same thing in real life. I'm not going to let people back on. I'm going to try and gap riders. And it just comes naturally. Now, can he keep the crashing to a minimum? That is the question. I think he'll perform very well if he can just keep the rubber side down. But we've got 10 riders with Jeff just off the back in this front group, and it's already shaping up to be a great finale. Frank, how do you see this one ending?
Well, we haven't seen anybody use power-ups here, so I think that sprint stretch down the backside will be where everybody launches their power-ups. You see Jeff getting back. You see Ryan's, connected. You see Peter Castro just off the back, gonna make it back. You see Casey hanging off further back, and he's at 187 on the heart rate. Missing out on that first echelon is causing people to go deep. And if you look at the heart rates in the lead echelon, you've got 180, 192, 192, 192, 192, 180, 192, 191, 187. I mean, people are definitely in it to win it today.
This is the last kilometer coming up. Tim's on the attack. You've got 1 weight lifted, 1 racer's edge. Tim is out-sheltered. He's forced to use his power up here as he's attacking off the front. Last lap. But Daniel LeBlanc coming up here. The absolute madman coming back. No one really thought he had it in him after crashing a few times, but he's getting better and better. Here comes the sprint. Jonathan Heron on the right. Ben Shuilong in the middle. You can see Tim's power up has run out. Tim is at a disadvantage here as Jennifer Garcia is launching her sprint. She's at 66 kilometers an hour and she's trying to break away, but it looks like it could be too early as she dodges the block from Tim. Tim, he misses the block on Kayla as Kayla comes on through, and Tim has got weight lifted once more. Kayla executes the block on Tim as a teammate, Quinton Molyneux on the right, is coming on through side by side, and they're ordering each other a draft. Tim and Quinton here, giving that bit of a rest to each other, and with 200 meters remaining, Tim at 196, Jennifer at 200, Kayla comes on through again. This is going to come down to the final corner. Who will it be? Kayla has to slow down. Quinton has outside, Tim has inside the finish line. Oh my goodness, Frank, that was close.
Wow. Just wow. Some people going really deep there. Jennifer on the attack, Quentin and Tim coming back, but then Kayla just doing an awesome job as well. It looks like it was Cycling Hub 1-2, then Kayla, then Jennifer.
Oh, that instant replay is going to be great to see, but everybody burnt matches. You see Moti, he's coming over the line in 17th, and he is still burning matches just to finish as we bring up the instant replay. That was such a tough finish, Frank. You saw Tim going early, everybody reacting. Kayla with a bit of blocking there, so she's paying it back. But that sprint finish, you have 3 riders side by side by side, one on the inside, one in the middle, one on the outside. It could go anyone's way, but in the end, Tim Fulford taking the victory, putting him up into first on the standings. But that is simply just so close as we watch it here again. Kayla in the yellow, Quinton on the right in the blue, Tim on the inside. Kayla just wants to make sure to not crash. And I think in the end, she just loses out on second by millimeters. Tim, congratulations on that win. We saw you accelerating into every corner. How much practice did you have on that track?
Sorry, Jesper, I can't hear you very well because other people in the VMix. So I knew I had to go early. That sort of thing had to happen because I don't have the sprint against these high cadence people. So string it out early, make the sprint a small sprint, and then bravest in the corner, really. And I think I beat Quinton by 1,000 for the second. So I'll take the 1-2 on that one. I didn't expect to win race 2. Second hour is where I'm going to be vying for the wins, I think, because I tried to make that race as hard as possible for everyone because one of my strengths is fatigue less, maybe. So happy to take the points. Somehow at the top, I got dropped like a stone on the first race, but yeah, it's nice. So we'll see what happens.
Well, Tim, I'll let you get back and chat to your team because I know strategy is very important. But Kayla, oh, I mean, you pulled off the block on Tim. You almost came back. You had the inside line. I mean, your heart must have dropped thinking, oh, I'm going to slide out hitting Tim on this final line.
Oh, yes. I just can't get over how high the level of racing is right now because, I mean, I was going into that corner. I thought I had it timed perfectly. I was right there at 33 kph. Oh, yeah, 33 kph, and it was. I was just so afraid that I would crash out into him. So just tried to maintain that position, but unfortunately, didn't give me the first place. But had to keep it safe there because I didn't want a bunch of people to pass through me. So kind of the things you have to take into effect in those split seconds.
I can hear the team chatting in the background. I'll let you get back to them and get ready for it. But Frank, right now, top 12, so tightly contested, and you look further down, missing out currently, Sebastian Kuhn, Luis Sobranis, Moti P. Kelney, Alison Kubota. It has not been Cognition's day yet.
No, in fact, Modi's in 20th position. He's out of the money right now, and so that's a news flash. Also out of the money, you've got Sebastian as well. That's a surprise. You've got Luis sitting out of the money. You've got Peter sitting out of the money. You've got Ellison sitting out of the money. You've got Beth sitting out of the money. A lot of upsets on display, but it's early, and there's a lot of racing left today.
There is 40 seconds until Lakeview Lanes. Frank, this is a tough race. We've seen this in the previous week, and now the win coming in. What we're really seeing here is teammates. Like, I can fully understand Casey joining Team Cycling Hub because you do not want to be alone in this race. And right now, Cycling Hub is sitting 1 and 2.
1, 2, and 4. They're looking quite good, but you saw cognitions come to play. You saw Jonathan executing the block it maneuver, and I think you're going to see a lot of that today.
Excited to see this next race begin as they sprint out of the gate here. They go onto the attack. Ben Shuilong sitting second virtually, but this is one of the long races of the day. We're going to see all the moves as you can just see all the riders from above. We've seen few crashes as the gameplay has gotten better and better and better, but off to an early start. Quentin, Timothy, Jonathan is up there. Beth is trying to get a better result, but we have a really long day ahead
Jeff's
of
gone
us.
down.
Ooh.
Jeff Rooney's already gone down.
bad start for the Velocity Vixen member. He's down towards the back. He's going to have to fight his way back. But, Frank, it is a long day. I mean, what we could see early on, there could be some fading later on because of physical equalization.
Yes, so you're going to see endurance come to play today, a little less tomorrow, unless you're in the best of the rest bracket, which means you do quite a bit more racing, about a third more than everybody else tomorrow. So tomorrow, more about skill and just how deep you want to go at any given point, and today a lot more about endurance.
Now, we've got two groups forming again naturally because of the wind. You've got to maneuver yourself to find that drafting, find that shelter. If you are alone, like Jennifer Garcia is right now, you're going to have to work even harder to get back on terms while you're also, you know, dodging the cement, dodging the concrete, dodging the different obstacles on Lakeview lanes. Surprised to see Jonathan Heron do so well today, but we've got Vibeke Bertram as well here, Frank. She has been riding better and better and better, and today could be the day she finds herself going on through.
Yeah, absolutely. Like I said, you know, right now the top is not what we expected, so a lot of upsets in the making here.
You got Cycling Hub on the right. Sorry?
Yeah, not that Vibeke would be, you know, an upset or a surprise. We expect her to do well. Just saying that the mix is not exactly what we would be expecting so far.
I was going to say you had Cycling Hub with a little echelon going on as they were all three side by side offering that draft to each other. They've got 5 jerseys in this mix. You can just see over the shoulder of Tim as he also opens up the window in his house. So Cycling Hub well represented. Just off the back here, you've got Alison Kubota, Jonathan Heron, the newest addition, but Kayla Laguna, ooh, she goes down, she comes to the corner, Frank, and in the exact same spot as the tester this week, she goes down again.
Yes, Lakeview lanes, you know, you look at it and you're like, no one's going to go down this course. It's, you know, it's too easy. It's wide open. You know, the obstacles are either sort of on the outside or the inside. And, you know, how hard can it be? Well, the answer is it can be very, very difficult to navigate these obstacles for some reason. They're just sneaky. They come up around corners, and people often end up making the mistake and going down. And when and the other dynamic is when you've got so many people on the road, you can get stuck in the middle, right? So you can get stuck in the middle of the peloton. You know, that bunch doesn't. You've got to wait for everybody else to spread out, and sometimes you don't have the time, and you get stuck in a bad spot.
Well, plenty of racing left here in Lakeview lanes. That was the first lap of 5. Further on today, we got Fantastic Alien C. You've got Tempo Run as well, who are longer races that you've got to plan on well. You can see the scoreboard next to Casey, how it stands currently, as everything is moving around. All pieces are being changed. It's all about being top 12 today. And really, Frank, you want to be in one of the odd seedings. You want to get 1st, 3rd, 5th, 7th, because then you get the first semifinal, and you get about an hour and a half of rest. Do you think that's something they're thinking about? They're thinking, can I get this specific seed?
I think, you know, certainly. And then one of the reasons that that's done is because it could split the teams up, right? So you'll see some teams trying to set up for, you know, the odd or the even seedings for tomorrow so that the teams can race together.
Now, Ben on the left side here, he's being boxed in by Vibeke and Beth here, so he doesn't have anywhere to move, but Vibeke lets him out, and he's able to come on through. But surely, Frank, the nerves, when you are moving through so many different racers. We've raced 9 weeks, and they're used to having pelotons of 5s and 6s and 7th. Now you have 20 riders. Every lane change just gets tougher and tougher.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, just to sort of speak to the skill levels that are coming up in the game is you don't see a lot of people crashing. So you saw Kayla get caught out in a crash on these sneaky obstacles, but everybody else is keeping the rubber side down.
That is something we saw in the finale of the Bracketed Session tournament on Sudden Lane Change, a track that's very demanding. No one went down, and so we see Jennifer Garcia hitting the turf saying that, but it's just incredible how everyone is getting more and more tuned in. But Frank, I also think that comes down to the amount of practicing. I mean, I think Sebastian Kuhn, I saw him for several hours just writing these tracks on a keyboard. I mean, you've really got to be tuned in because, as you can see with cycling up on the front, they don't allow for many mistakes.
No, and it looks like Cycling Hub wants to sort of stamp its authority on the racing early on, but will that cost them a little bit later on towards the back half of the Omnium? Probably not, as the back half of the Omnium is more skill based. But what they may do is spend a lot more energy off the front here, just the two of them, because a lot of the people in the pack are going to be getting a big draft.
You've got Nigel Doyle being forced to use a wind at his back. So you have one wind at your back, one uncrashable, which you've seen Jonathan Herone use. And you have 3 path of least resistance as Allison goes down as well. Just a touch of wheels and she finds herself on the ground. But this 2-man breakaway, Tim and Quentin, they're going to try and ride this one to the end. Take turns on the front, and it's up to the other teams to try and bring it back. It's a 2.5 scoring multiplier, Frank, so it is the biggest one. But you've got to look towards the end of the racing. These teams, can they afford to let them go, or can they afford to spend the energy? What's going through their minds?
Well, what you've got is 2 well-oiled teammates off the front, knowing how to work the wind, knowing how to work together, knowing how to maximize the draft of 2. And that can be a formidable thing because back in the larger pack, everybody starts looking at, you chase, and then maybe I'll help you. And so you get people looking at each other and just letting that gap grow and grow and grow. And here I think what you see is that Ben of CCC is saying, you know what, I'm going to go ahead and put in the effort. The scoring multiplier is big enough on this. And so I'm going to put the hammer down and bring these guys back. But he's going to need some help.
I think it's the right move for Ben. I think Ben, he's finding himself isolated in this front group. He only has Nigel there with him, and he can afford to spend some energy. He's getting better and better and better, and he's now got Casey marking him. And this is one of the reasons why Casey joined Team Cycling Up. It's to have the luxury, to have the privilege of not having to chase down every single attack. Ben sees the colors of blue and orange and knows Casey is not going to help him. So it's Ben against the world here, and it's shaping up well for Cycling Up with them off the front, but there's plenty of more racing left. We've already seen a bit of block in. I am sure we'll see the racing really start to get intensified later on here as Velocity Vixen off the back, Nigel's up here. CCC bringing through their 2 strongest racers to try and move it up to the front.
Yeah, I think Peter's trying to make his way back too, but probably better off at this point just saving some energy because the lower positions don't score that many points. So you got Jennifer who had a crash, Ellison who had a crash, and sometimes the better thing to do is just to ride and finish this race, under the time cut, which is important here because I think that's the other move that maybe Quentin and Tim are doing is looking to finish in a very, very fast time and catch some riders out. So people in the back half have to go hard enough, but it's kind of that you're kind of just trying to guide, stay within a couple of minutes of the lead group. And if you do that, you could save quite a bit of energy on this long course and, still be in a good position.
A big gameplay change that was added today as well was the removal of the bot patrol. As part of the events team, Frank, could you elaborate on why the bot patrol was taken out from today's races?
For a couple of reasons. One, normally we have sort of around 8 to 10 up racing, and we add the bots to add some traffic and to add a little bit of difficulty to the game. Today you've got a high level of difficulty anyway with all of the racers that are in this bracket, and then the other reason is we wanted everyone to have to work for all of these 8 races on their own and not be able to get on a bot and ride a bot's wheel. So it's all human power today, no bot assisted riding.
Here comes Modi P. Kelney with Uncrashable, with Wind at his back and Path of Least Resistance. He's trying to make up the gaps here, make up the numbers, but he hasn't had the best day just yet. It's not the Modi P. Kelney we're used to seeing, but he hasn't raced this week. He didn't race last weekend either, and that bit of cobwebs just seems to be on display here for the Team Cognition team leader, as he's got his entire team down here with him, and they've got to try and find something magical to get back in on the racing and crack into that top 12. Velocity Vixen looks well, CCC looks good, Team Cycling Hub are currently occupying 5 of the top 7 spots. Incredible scenes here, what we're seeing from Team Cycling Hub.
Yeah, absolutely. You see Ben coming up into 4th. Kayla's there in 5th as well. You've got Jennifer in 8th. Best showing so far, I think, from Velocity Vixens is Ryan. You've got Beth down in 14th. So, like I said, you know, it starts to have a certain feel. But remember, we're very early on here in terms of early in the day.
And you see Casey, he's guttering Ben Shuilong, and now he goes on to the attack. So from putting Ben into the wind and making him take the long way around, Casey now wants to try and get rid of him and take up the maximum points on offer here. Very thankless job from Ben Shuilong here, but now he's got to be careful because further back, Timothy Tamont and Niels Heldens lay in wake, and they want to pounce on this opportunity to go up and take even further points away here from the rest. Lakeview Lanes seems to be all Team Cycling Hub. Next up is Fantastic Alien Sea. Will we see more of the same, or will some of the other teams hit back up? But Frank, something you could assume also is that the other teams further back, they're drafting, they're saving some of the energy, they're just trying to, you know, ride consistently and perhaps attack the second half, because second place in the bracketed session tournament, Sebastian Kuhn, is currently 22nd overall.
Yes, some you know, very interesting things you know, sort of early on here. You know, Sebastian, heart rate down around 170, so he's definitely taking it easy, and I think that he's looking you know, towards the latter half, which I find a little bit odd, however, because you know, Sebastian, I would expect to sort of excel at these early events. And then have a little bit more difficulty in the skill events that are on the back half of this Omnium. But, you know, he showed the other day by winning on sudden lane change that might be a changing, and maybe he wants to test that out today.
2.6 kilometers remain. Next time we cross the start-finish banner, it's the last lap of racing. It looks like Quentin and Tim just waited up for Casey here to allow Casey to come back, and they can take turns on the front to come on through. So if you're just tuning in, this is the grand finale of the CVRcade World Cup Season 1. It's the initial rounds of racing prior to tomorrow's semifinals, finals, and a lower bracket. Casey Shum found himself on the 3rd spot of the bracketed session. He wasn't quite able to take the 2 steps upwards, but a solution to that was to join with the teams. As Quentin Molyneux here, Frank, might have a bit of a mechanical. It looks like he's having some trouble.
Wow, yeah, you know, he's gone into, you know, the blocks here, and this could be unbelievable. There's got to be panic going on right now. It'll be interesting to see what the mechanical is, and you know, if he can get an official dispensation. Otherwise, he could be racing tomorrow morning.
Oh, from looking great to being out. If he doesn't get this solved and resolved ahead of the next racing, could be tough luck for Quentin once more. We saw him get eliminated on Dark Matter Velo, literally inches away from having a shot at winning the big bucks. Now, once more, Quentin Molyneux finds himself going out the back. As we cut to the front, you will see the points on offer as they stand. Tim, Casey, Ben occupy the top 3, but it's all about the top 12, and currently sitting in that 12th spot is Aaron Starlin with Daniel around, but the points differential back there, I mean, Frank, it's so tight, it's so close. The secondary positions, every race you can find yourself either going through or going out.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm a little nervous here for Quentin. I haven't seen him light back up, and so it'll be interesting to see just exactly what's happening there.
It could be a computer update. I know someone like Nigel had a backup computer. He made sure that Windows would not update for the next 7 days. And so all these precautions are being taken into place. I know Timothy Tamont also has a backup computer after his qualification issues on his end in the bracketed session tournament. So these riders all getting ready for it. Casey and Tim, the amount of battles these two have had over the last 9 weeks, and now wearing the same colors, they are going to cross the finish line together, but massive effort from Ben Shuilong, from Nigel Doyle, from Ryan Goldenberg, from Beth Vibeke, etc., even from Moti. It's far from over. The other teams are coming out to play, and they're now aware of the situation. They're aware of the rules of engagement, and I think in the latter part of the races, it's going to get heated. It's going to get spicy, because at some point, Frank, desperation kicks in. You realize you're going to have to shake things up. Otherwise, it's Summit Islands tomorrow morning.
Well, but I think what you also see here at the front is Casey stamping his authority on Tim, right? And he's going to, oh, that was a great gameplay there. He did both Uncrashable and Path of Least Resistance. And you see Tim responding here with Wind at Your Back. But what you see here is something that I think is going to play out tomorrow, which is you're liable to have a lot of Cycling Hub members in the final, but you're also liable to see them going head-to-head. They've brought in someone into the mix, and maybe they'll regret that move. So nice win for Casey there.
Also, Ben and Nigel getting 3rd and 4th after all that work. Great effort from the Yellow Riders there. Ryan will come in 5th. He'll beat Timothy. He'll beat Nils. And then Beth further down. So this is so early. Fatigue is going to start to hit in. Who's got the endurance? Who's got the mental capacity to stay switched on for the entire duration of the racing today? It may look one direction early on, but it can change later in the racing. It's really cool here as Team Cognition. Frank, it really looks like Team Cognition has some sort of elaborate game plan that the rest of us don't quite grasp just yet.
Yeah, they'll do well today for sure. Great teamwork, which will move a lot of them, into the finals. But what'll be interesting is how that plays out tomorrow, because tomorrow is about individual performance, and so that will be very, very interesting.
Now we've got Fantastic Alien Sea up next as we catch the highlights from Team Cycling Hub 1 and 2 on Lakeview Lanes. Of course, Quentin Assis is back in the racing, so I'm not sure what the jury's ruling will be on his technical difficulties on what it was, but of course the commissioners, etc., they will take a look at it. But for now, just race and continue. But it'd be good to hear from Casey, because Casey, you're so used to having to chase down every single attack on your own. What was it like to finally be able to sit in and be the one not doing the chasing like Ben did?
Yeah, that was good. Was able to sit. I think it was Nigel at one point and Ben at another. Just kind of ride their wheel, and they either have to pull me back to the front or I ride their wheel. And then I got a little gap. Then I was close enough to the front and had enough legs. I'm like, all right, let's just secure the top 3 here. Sounds like Quentin had an internet dropout, but he's back now. So we'll see how that goes, how they play that.
That is very unfortunate, but such is the racing, of course. Now, Fantastic Alien Sea coming up here next. Casey, you're looking good. You're looking comfortable. How are the legs feeling? Because there is still twice the amount of racing left.
Yeah, I feel all right. I mean, it's been hard racing. I mean, those were 2 big power efforts in those 2 races. So, but I think that's true for everybody. Everybody's going to be hurting. And a lot more of the power courses are stacked to the front end of today. So I think after this one, the endurance is really going to play.
I look forward to it. I'll let you get back to it, Casey. Ben, fantastic effort there. You were up against it with the Cycling Hub riders all surrounding you. You and Nigel have really become a double duo. Some dynamite on display from you guys. Oh, I'm not sure Ben is able to hear me. I think he may be concentrating on the racing. We'll come on back as he is concentrating in there. We've got Kayla currently sitting down in 7th. She did have that early crash in the last race. Kayla, when you went down, how much of a panic station was it?
Oh, it was such a, I knew I had to keep my cool and focus because the race isn't over. There's many events left, but honestly, you can't afford to crash.
How you doing, Jen?
You can't afford to do it. So, just really got to be cautious going into these ones and be aware. And you really need to know your positionings. There's just so many players out on course. So, just got to be on top of my A game. So, we'll see how this one goes. But my heart was pumping.
You can tell, definitely. Good luck, Kayla, in Fantastic Alien Sea, where you've got to know your positions. We could just hear in the background there, I think Frank was checking in on the team. He is joining me in the commentary booth. Massive disadvantage to the CVR squad not having their mentor team captain joining them in the racing, but for the rest of us on Mixer, we are greatly appreciating the fact that Frank is joining us here in the broadcast. And speaking of which, Frank, bit of a technical glitch there for Quentin. Internet running out. I mean, that's unfortunate.
Yeah, that probably changes the way you play everything here, for sure. And it'll be interesting to see how this develops. And, is everyone going to keep the pedal to the metal and, really go hard in this race? Or are some people going to start, saving energy to see, if they can save something for the later races.
Now we're looking at, I see Ryan Goldenberg just sent me a picture in between the races of him downing a shot of maple syrup. So maybe that is the key to success, is Canadian maple syrup makes the engine run. But Frank, we're halfway through the racing after this one, and looking at the scoreboard, there are some big names that haven't made it yet. When is the time for them to start turning it on? Because I think everyone is trying to save a bit of energy, but I mean, perhaps Sebastian is trying to just finish last and take on tomorrow's racing, because there's some next level strategies.
Yeah, you could see some people, saying, "Hey, I think I like my, chances tomorrow better, and I will have saved, a lot of energy, from the racing today." I'm not sure that's a wise strategy. It's not what I would be doing because really you've got 90 minutes of racing today and a full 24 hours to recover, get all your glycogen stores back. And you've got 50 minutes of racing tomorrow morning, and you've got some really hard racing in the best of the rest bracket. You've got Summit Islands, 3 laps of that. I think that's going to zap the legs, and you have basically no recovery time. And so, that's a very, very interesting play, but it looks like some people are going to, take that course of action.
Once more on the front, Quentin and Tim Fulford going on to the attack. These two riders, I think we'll see plenty of them here on Fantastic Alien Sea. Luis Sobranese here is making up the distance to try and break away. So the first sign here of team cognition on the front. Viveka Bertram, she's up here as well. She has been just practicing, getting better. I mean, she's really enjoying her time on the platform, and now she's moving her way up, and she finds herself in 11th place. So she is going on through, but that tricky descent is coming up. Christian Weidman, Jeff Rooney. Frank, we're seeing some of the riders who didn't have the best positions in the earlier races. They're starting to find themselves near the top.
Yes, they are. And like I said, this is a long race. So I think what you're seeing here was maybe cognition thinking, hey, let's let Modi, scrape the rust off in these early races, and then we'll come to the fore and see what we can do. You've got, Tim Fulford and Quentin on the front trying to stamp their authority on the racing once again. But then you have somebody like Luis and Vibeke saying, yeah, well, okay, but we're here too.
We're on a very tricky descent here. You've got to be careful, especially with this many racers. You see Ben Shuilong, he's on the outside here. He's trying to make the other riders make a mistake. So comes Ryan. Ryan and Jeff here from Velocity Vixen. Everybody's coming on through. They've done this descent so many times, and now they're really pushing it. Jeff Rooney's got to be careful. You see him slide on through. Cycling Hub, Timothy Tamut, Casey Shum on the inside. That does not seem to be a case of sliding out for them, as you've got the yellow riders on the left. Ben, you've got Nigel up here. Luis goes down. Luis Sobranese on a corner. You wouldn't expect. He finds himself, and he's going to block somebody here, it looks like. Nope, everybody comes safely on through. He only blocks the Cycling Hub riders. But Frank, we've got 5.5 kilometers left. What are some of the observations you've made so far of the racers and how it's unfolded?
Well, it's interesting. Looks like Cycling Hub's, definitely into the mental games. Oh, and Ellison crashes on that first corner.
Inertia into
using
the wall. She comes back on.
Yes. One of the neat things about inertia is you come right back up to speed. And so a little bit of silver lining in that cloud. But boy, that corner right there, the first one after the start-finish line, often catches people because if you use your power-ups, you can definitely overspeed that corner.
Jonathan Heron is moving on up on the right. Newest Team Cognition member as Timothy's blocking out Ben here. Timothy Tamut slamming the brakes on Ben Shuilong. And so you're already seeing here Cycling Hub just singling out one of their biggest threats here. Ben trying to get him out. And Frank, they did this before. Tim did this to Ben on Roman Arena in the bracket session tournament. Seems to be a marked man.
Yeah, well, we see Ben definitely, up and coming on the overall arc. And so I think what you see him, sort of saying is, hey, let's make it harder for you today. Let's put a little bit more lactic acid into those legs and see how well you can recover for tomorrow.
Now you've got Moti making a backup. Ryan is racing well, but how about this? Vibeke Bertram in third spot right now, out on course. Fantastic Alien Sea halfway through the racing, and Velocity Vixens, a rockstar racer in third. Alison Kubota, Team Cognition, they're starting the hunt for the points. They rested up in the first few races, and while everybody else is fatigued, Team Cognition, they strike. We see Allison moving up, Jeff Rooney as well. It is simply so close right now. Everywhere, everyone's got to fight for the positions, but then you look further back, it looks like Jennifer is taking this race somewhat easy, but Frank, fighting that time cut is going to be tough for her.
Yeah, definitely. She's going to have to, put in a little bit of effort here, but not a lot, right? I think she's probably suffering some fatigue. Had a lot of adrenaline flowing early in the afternoon, but now, well, I guess it's morning where Jennifer is on the west coast of the U.S. But she definitely just wants to make it through this one. And finally get to these high skill events where you don't need a lot of power. So this is just use your power-ups, get to the end, stay within the time cutoff, and move on.
Ben uses his inertia. You have one inertia, one racer's edge, and one path of least resistance. Ben finds this is time to use his. You can see Tim on the front with his two teammates. He's got Quentin. Sorry, with one. He's only got Quentin. Ryan with his powers. Ben moves on through. You can see the scoreboard on the left. It's continuously moving around as Jeff almost goes down. Frank, when you get tired, when the fatigue hits in, these corners, these descents get trickier, and we see Ryan with inertia. How many crashes do you think we'll see in the back end of the racing? Because so far, majority of people have raced flawlessly.
Yes. So that's what you're seeing. You're seeing that there are some people, they're getting caught out. But most people are keeping the rubber side down. That's what you would expect here in the grand finale.
Now we look further back down. Casey in amongst the riders. Everybody in ones and ones and ones. Fantastic Alien Sea has got the gradients.
Oh,
no,
Vibeke! She felt the pressure from Ryan. She was trying to go through that corner as fast as Ryan, but Ryan got it right, and she was a little bit off the mark.
Oh, teammate Ryan Goldenberg taking out his own teammate Vibeke Bertram, and she's using the inertia at 36 kilometers an hour from hero down to 8th just like that. You gotta keep fighting on. You gotta keep believing the good sensations and fight on through. You've done it once. There's only 5 seconds up until 3rd spot. You can do it again as we see Tim using the inertia. Frank, the inertia on Fantastic Alien Sea is something we've really seen develop over time. Usually we see it at the bottom. When it first came around, it was used on the finale stretch. Then it got used at the top, and now we see riders confident enough to use it on the incline in the turns.
Yeah, absolutely. People are really getting to know, where they can cook it, how hard they can go, and that sort of thing. So, very interesting how people are managing this racing. And you see, Vibeke had moved herself up into the top 12. Now she's down at 16th. Ellison had moved her way into the top 12. Now she's at 14th. But again, we're not even halfway through the racing today.
No. As Jonathan Herone goes down, he uses path of least resistance in a corner, and he finds out what that means to him as Ben now catches back up to Casey. He was an earlier marked man by cycling up Timothy, putting on a block on the CCC captain, but he is moving on back. I think there's going to be some tight racing here at the end. Tim and Quinton, they look fairly unbeatable now, but the question remains, Frank, how much energy are they expending ahead of tomorrow? Because being 1st and 2nd and being 11th and 12th, it somewhat has the same effect on the racing for Sunday.
Yeah, it's very, very interesting, just sort of looking at the scoreboard and the points, right? So you get some great separation at the top if you're Tim and Casey and Quentin, because you've done well at the tops of these. But as you get down into sort of that 11th and 12th position, I mean, we're talking sometimes fractions of points, right? But certainly, on the order of like 1 or 2 points as it is.
You've got Casey with the inertia, Ryan Goldenberg trying to do the block that he's so known for, but doesn't succeed for him. We've got a kilometer remaining. Tim and Quinton with the path of least resistance and a racer's edge. I think, again, they're pushing the time limit. They're ditching each other at the top. I think they're okay with it. Tim wants to finish as quickly as possible to try and get zeros across the board for the rest. So Tim trying to finish it up, but once more, cycling up 1st, 2nd, and 3rd out on course. Velocity Vixen 4th and 5th with Team CCC down in 6th. Moti, though, is now fighting his way back as he's on the top. He's got Allison and Ben in his sights, and he is riding negative splits. He's getting better and better and better. But this inertia at the bottom, he could find himself crashing here, Frank.
Yeah, this will be interesting. I would imagine Moti knows exactly the speed that he can take, and I wouldn't expect him to crash. Now, that being said, he showed a little bit of rust, and he's gone down at least once today, maybe a couple of times.
Tim lets Quinton come across the line in 1st. Tim takes 2nd, so that's possibly to accommodate as Moti goes down in 7th. Oh, so all that work gets nullified like that. Casey comes on through. The fight for secondary positions is on, but I think Tim and Quinton, they're trying to mitigate the loss of the points as Jeff and Ryan, teammates on through. They will take 4th and 5th. Ben keeps Allison at the line, but what about 8th and 9th further down? What can they do? Moti versus Timothy. These points could be all crucial with a 2-time scoring multiplier. Moti stands up versus Timothy, 1200 equalized watts. As they've got 50 meters to the line, Moti realizes that it is not worth it. As Christian Whiteman comes on through, takes a few points away from Nils Heldens, and Nils, 4th place in the bracketed session tournament, Frank. He's only just in by the skin of his teeth in 11th place.
Yeah, very interesting. I think Moti was about to, sort of work into the top 12 there, and that little bit of rust cost him in the corner, and now he's on the outside looking in currently. But again, quite a bit of racing left.
Now, Country Rally, Razor's Edge is up next. The tied for highest scoring multiplier of the night. This can change everything as we watch the highlights of Fantastic Alien Sea. This is the one everyone has been practicing. The Racer's Edge ability will change everything on this track. As I've got the results coming up here, I've got the executive judge sending me updates, so I'll update you on the totals because I am aware you can't see him on the stream. But we've got Tim in the broadcast. Tim, that last race and the last two races, Team Cycling Hub has executed flawlessly. Is it the communication that's making this work? Is it the preparation? What's making it so that you're currently first, second, and third in this Omnium?
We know what we're doing. We know how to execute that, and we've also got the power to do it. So I'm 60 points ahead. I wanted to go hard in these first four to get a nice lead, so I can basically only have to do one Omnium, and then mid-range score for these next four races, and I'll go through. We've got to give Niels a little bit of help. Timothy's looking all right, but this second half is skill-based, so plenty still to play for. But you've got to stretch the field out. You've got to fatigue them, otherwise everyone just bunches it up, gets nervous, and starts crashing. So.
Well, I'll let you get back. I'll let you get back to the team and chat with them. As I want to chat with the team cognition principals. We saw him go head to head with Timothy. Moti, so far it hasn't been the night for team cognition yet, but we're only halfway through the racing
we should
here.
Message Vanessa.
Oh, I think we got Moti just chatting. I'm not sure if he can hear me as he's chatting with the other racers. So we'll let him continue that as we look on downwards. Let's get a few words from Ben Shuilong, because once again, a block from Team Cycling Hub. Ben, what's it like to be a marked man?
It's not fun. I'm not entirely sure if that was a serious block or not. Unlike the other week on Roman Arena, so I don't know. It's hard to tell sometimes, you know. But I think it worked out okay nonetheless. I still finished in a fairly decent position, and you know, like Tim, I'm just trying to get a bit of a buffer in these early power style races, because hopefully it might be a little bit more restful in the higher skill events coming up now and a little bit later. So that's my target. I mean, just consistent good scoring was my own aim, to try and just make it through, you know. So what can I say? Yeah, this is going to be a crash fest, I think. It's going to be a tricky one.
Well, I always like the words crash fest. I'll let you get ready. 10 seconds to go. Thank you for spending your time and chatting with us. But Frank, here we go. Racer's Edge on Country Rally. This has been practiced time and time again. And these riders, they're coming out of the gate, and we see off the back here early on, Tim down in 22nd place as the flat tire gets used. I think 22 flat tires in this race. There's going to be some really tired riders.
Yeah, and frustrated riders as well, right? You know, certainly going to play into that. And you see, I think that was that Casey shooting up the left-hand side. There was, or maybe it was Christian. So some good plays already happening as we go here. I think the goal here has just got to be to keep the rubber side down.
Jonathan with an early block on Casey. Nigel is off to an early start. He used his corner caper to get away, and we've seen Nigel practice this. He looked fantastic when he raced this on Thursday in zones L and T, and now it's coming on through. Christian Weidman looking good too in second place, as we've got Tim Fulford going down. Frank, this is early. His lead is far from secured, and he is now down in 19th place as everyone is going down.
Yeah, really here it's just about keeping the rubber side down, right? And then you'll see people use the flat tire to get back after a mistake. But you just really are looking to sort of stay engaged here and wait for the other people to make the mistake.
Jennifer Garcia uses her flat tire. So every rider is equipped with one flat tire as Timothy attempts a block here on Jennifer. So Timothy out block happy today, and that tells me his fatigue might be going through the roof. Endurance may not be there. And Timothy in 8th looks to be struggling, blocking a few riders. Now Jennifer comes on through and Timothy comes back. Kayla there as well. The blocking, Frank, I think it will only get more and more as the riders get more and more tired.
Yeah, absolutely. And, you know, we have 5 laps
Timothy
here.
down, Vibeke down.
Yes. So Timothy was playing definitely with fire. No ifs, ands, or buts about that. And you knew he was probably going to go down. But what becomes fantastic lane change there. Yeah, by just in the nick of time, Jennifer makes that lane change. But Timothy definitely playing with fire. You know, you start to count yourself in, and then maybe you're out the back and you're not in the top 12, and that would be an absolute disaster for Timothy.
It would be, as he has to get, I mean, I'm not even sure whenever Timothy wakes up. I think that racing may be too early for him to wake up for Summit Island. So I think he's playing for some extra hours of sleep as Moti, Vibeke, and Jonathan with Ben Shuilong going down, with Jeff Rooney going down, and Moti comes on through. And there are some big points on offer here. 2.5 scoring multiplier. Everything can change as Moti slides on through, comes safely into the line here. Tim went down early. He's still comfortably in 2nd place, but off the front, safe into the distance. Cycling Hub's newest addition, Casey Shum, has got a gap, but Nigel Doyle, 4th overall. I mean, Nigel's just been looking better and better, Frank.
Yeah, absolutely. He's coming into his own. Looked like he had a couple of glitches early in today's Omnium, but he's working his way back in. And he did really well the other night on this course, and so I think he's got it dialed in.
Now, I know you guys can't see the total scores because there's 8 events and we haven't really tested that before, but I do have them here. So Tim, coming into this race, was leading by 11 points over Casey Shum, and he's got 50 points down to 3rd place. So Tim Fulford can afford a few mistakes here as he's got a significant lead further down. We've also got Casey Shum with a good lead in 2nd place, but then it gets close. From 3rd down to 12, only really 20 points in between, and from 3rd even further down to like 20th looks to be 40 to 50 points. Anything can change. Nobody is safe. Anyone can have to race further on to Summit Islands as Ben Shuilong navigating.
Nigel went down. Nigel went down.
And now Allison Moti comes through the barn door. Jeff goes down. We get Peter Kastrup with a flat tire. But Ben was trying to accelerate and he gets blocked. Kayla with a flat tire. Everybody standing still. Frank, this is turning into a power track. Everyone was saying that it could be more of a rhythm, more of a, you can sit in. But with every single flat tire, it's turning into a hard race.
Yes, and so, I think these ended up being even harder maybe than the event organization team sort of, dreamt up. But I think a lot of people are burning a lot of watts and the legs are starting to hurt.
Allison goes down. Nigel goes down again from 2nd to 10th as Niels Heldens also goes down. So the amount of races in here, just changing up the dynamic. Niels using his flat tire to prevent that crash. But once more, 3 riders rise to the top. Casey Shum, Quinton Molinez, and Tim Fulford. These 3 have been inseparable and now unified as a team. They are lethal out on course. That trade coming in. Good time from Team X to Team Cycling Hub. Jeff Rooney riding well. Ben riding well. Moti coming on back. He's now 12th place as Daniel LeBlanc lapped and he's trying to block riders on course. So everybody is engaging in the blocking. When there's money on the line, $5,000 will go to the winner tomorrow, I believe. And somebody really wants this. Moti uses his flat tire.
Yeah, and you see him zoom on past there. And you see a lot of crashing, and we're really just past, not that far past the halfway point, about a third of the race left, 2/3 behind us. But there's been more crashing on this than any other race so far.
I think Ben did call it well. Crash Fest, Crash City, that's what we're seeing here. And the Racer's Edge abilities changing things up as Timothy goes down again. He cannot afford all these crashes. He had a heartbreak in the bracketed session tournament as Allison Kubota flies on through. She navigates past Nils, skillfully avoids the hay bales. Allison, but then no! Too quick through the corner.
Oh my, just got amped there. And, again, moving sort of into the top 12 and then watching it vanish. And Timothy back up in 10th spot, but he can't afford too many more mistakes or he might find himself waking up early tomorrow.
Moti Bikilny now in 6th on the overall, 3rd out on course, 5 seconds behind Quinton Molinez. So there's back-end racing from Moti, trying to, really go heavy towards the later racing. It could pay off here. And remember, where you really want to be is in the odd seeding. You want to be 1st, 3rd, you want to be 5th, etc. to get the early semifinal, to get that hour and a half rest. And now we see occupying that is Casey. Quinton is Tim with his flat tire on the final lap. Interesting to see how they distribute the point here at the top, but more flat tires come out.
Yeah, absolutely. And this can just be maddening. You just want to finish the race, right? And at this point, you're like, okay, you know what? Enough of this already, people. Let me just get across the finish line.
Now Tim with corner caper, he's trying to catch back up to Quinton. I think he's realizing even though he's got a significant lead here, nothing is safe, so he wants to stay away. As Jeff Rooney, despite his corner caper, goes down. Sebastian Kuhn as well is moving up into 9th. He used his flat tire and now the destroyer has awoken. Sebastian in the second part of the racing looks like he's now going to be engaged with the racing, but as another flat tire gets used. Casey Shum, newest addition to Team Cycling Hub, 20-second gap. He's just ridden this flawlessly.
Yeah, absolutely great racing by Casey, and he's certainly setting himself up as a favorite tomorrow. He's looking really good. We know Casey knows how to recover. We know he's got the endurance, and so he will be a force to be reckoned with. He wants that top spot, and it looks like he's going for it.
200 meters remain. He's got the left-hand turn, the locks, and that will be it for Casey Shum. Another victory today here. He's taken the 2 high-scoring multiplier races here. That's all you can really ask for. Lakeview Lanes and Country Rally for Casey Shum. Quinton Molinez will finish 2nd. You've got Moti and Tim fighting for 3rd and 4th. Meanwhile, Tim looks solid. Nils with an impressive effort here. Not the strongest racer in high-skill events, but coming through with a solid 5th place. And as I say that, the commentator's curse, he crashes down in the last corner and falls down to 9th as he blocks Ben. Timothy goes down and 1 corner away from a solid result as Homer with the flat tire. Jeff just needs to finish. He rolls over the line. Christian almost beats him. Sebastian comes through. Ben versus Nils, and Allison comes through, taking points away from Ben. Oh my goodness, Frank. This top 12. There are some riders who thought they were safe after the first 4 racers, who now realize maybe they're not so safe.
Yeah, no, it's very, very interesting. You've got Moti work his way back up to 8th. Timothy holding off for 9th, but boy, is he prone to being going down today. And as the day gets longer, I expect him to potentially fade a little bit more, and he could find himself working, on the way back. You've got Jennifer falling out of 12th position down to 15th, but still not far out, right? So 1 race and she's back in. A couple of people crash, that sort of thing. So no worries there. All of these people sort of, down, from 12th to 18th. There's not a lot of point separation at all, 17 points across that whole span. So a lot of people can definitely work their way back in.
It could all come down to Dark Matter Vela. That would be carnage as everybody is scrambling to come on through. But we've got Casey on the stream again. Casey, taking the two big scoring multiplier events of the day, first Lakeview Lanes and now Country Rally. Pretty much flawless race there. How much practice had you done on that? How much, training with Racer's Edge ability?
I did some. I mean, I raced quite a bit this week on it in the normal races. And then for openers yesterday, I did about, 3/4 of that race in a replay. I got a rhythm, and it felt good. And I knew when I was listening, just had to stay up. I had the gap, just stay up. And I didn't think we were ever getting to that first corner. I mean, oh, my God, they dropped like 10 flat tires in the first sprint start. I was killing me. I never used my flat.
Really?
Yeah, I never used it.
Well, it made for very entertaining watching, but I'm sure it ripped some legs apart. You and Tim and Quentin, you just seem inseparable at the top. What's it been like to be on one of the trade teams and not ride by yourself?
I mean, it's good. I mean, right now we just got to ride. I mean, you got to be there to get the points. So you got to be strong enough to be there. So, yeah, it's good.
Well, I'll let you get back. Temple Run coming up next. Let's get a word from Jennifer Garcia ahead of the next racing here, because she currently finds herself in 15th. Jennifer, you're only 3 spots away here. What are we going to see going into the last 3 races from you today?
Oh man, Jesper, I was just talking to my dad. My endurance is not where I thought it was. This one, I have a little bit of hope because this is the last long one. So if I can just make it through this one more time, I'm going to go for the top 12 again. But yeah, it's brutal.
Well, just see it as Rocky Mountains. I'm sure that will help you go out the gate. Good luck, Jennifer, here in the next race. 15th place. I know you're currently chatting strategy with the team and Frank Garcia. But if you were enjoying the racing today, there's more racing tomorrow this exact same time. We've got, actually, even earlier than today, we've got the lower bracket coming up first tomorrow. Then we've got the 2 semifinals and the grand finale. That will be tense. Somebody will walk away with $5,000 from riding their bike in their conservatory, in their bedroom, in their whatever around the house, the world, whatever, where they're riding their bike on their trainer. They are qualifying in this free-to-play physical esports game called CVRcade. That is crazy. And speaking of crazy, here comes the 6th race of the day off to the start. Who's going to be making up some of the points? Who's going to get back on terms to try and get into the top 12 to make sure they don't have to face the grueling race that is Summit Islands? Frank, the words that you are chatting with the Jennifer at this point, what words of wisdom do you share? What do you tell somebody at this point in the racing?
Hang on. You're in survival mode. You're only 5 points back from the cutoff point, and you just kind of want to, hang in here as best you can. Pick up some draft and just hang in and see what happens. See what your endurance shows. Jennifer's suffering a little bit, I think, on the endurance mode, and her endurance has been coming along, but today is some hard racing.
And this is even tougher on Temple Run as we see her grinding away on the stream, down in 22nd place. We move to the top here. Moti Pikelny, Luis Soberanis. Luis is just on the cusp of being in. He's in 10th place, and for him and the rest of the Cognition guys, yes, they need it. Oh, sorry. I think Frank is chatting with the team here, so we'll just let him chat a tiny bit as we see Moti Pikelny off the front with Luis Soberanis. You've got Homer Thompson in here, who's had a good day so far. He's down in 18th. Will he come into the later part of the racing? Ben Shuilong, he finds himself in a position here you really don't want to be in. There's no wind on this track, and he's being blocked. Jonathan Heron, once more, Ben Shuilong, a marked man, just can't get away from it. He's like a magnet, and every pole is pointing towards him right now. He is being taken off the fridge and literally in the garbage disposal by the Blockhead Rocket. Ben Shuilong just can't get away as he tries to get on the wheel of Niels Heldens, but he could avoid it. Now, you don't have quantum shift in this race, but you don't want to be boxed in. You don't want to be in a lane where you can't move. You want to have the freedom of choice, as we see Casey Shum here. He has the option to draft somebody, but he also has the freedom to swing left, to swing right. Same thing with Tim on the front now going into the attack, as now the group is being splintered to pieces. I believe we do have Frank back in the racing, but we see some early attacks off the front. Jeff Rooney's trying to make things up. Anybody's game is still on display here, Frank.
Yeah, and you've got 3 laps of Temple Run. It's been a super hard day already. Chatting with Jennifer, and she's like, "Wow, this is hard." And so, as it should be in the grand finale, feeling a little bit for Jennifer. Obviously, chatting with her, she'll do well. No worries. Having a lot of fun earlier. Probably not a lot of fun right now in survival mode. But what you see is some great racing at the front here. And Jeff says, "You know what? I'm tired of these cycling hub boys going off the front all by themselves." And so you see him sort of hanging on here now. You've got 3 cycling hub and 1 velocity vixen, but now you've got the Blocket Rocket up here as well, and Homer, and so I would expect some people to be chasing Tim down.
You've got a feel for Ben Shuilong. I mean, he's doing everything right, but when you do everything right, it makes you a marked man. And I think both Cognition and Cycling Hub, they're realizing that he's the threat. So you've got Timothy Tamont, who is actively seeking him out, making sure that he is nowhere near the front. You've got the Blocket Rocket, who's attached to him at the hip, taking him out. He's now down in 12th place. The blocking is a part of the game, but if you're Ben Shuilong today, Frank, I think you absolutely hate it.
Well, I think turnabout's fair play. So what you see here is Timothy starting to suffer. We're only on the first climb of 3 on Temple Run, and now I think what you're going to see is CCC try and put Timothy into a world of hurt. And they might move Timothy off of the top 12, right? So last laugh may be the loudest, and it may be CCC's.
And for Timothy, that is vital, because if Timothy was to make it to the grand finale, we see a few riders getting careful there with the rocks, he would be a favorite because Dark Matter Velo is up there, and we know how good he is on that track. And so he needs to give himself the best possible chance of making it to the finals, and that would not be going into the lower bracket. But I do have the results here as they stand. Around that 12th spot right now, occupied by Jonathan Heron. Everybody is so close. 13 points down to Vibeke, 14 points down to Louise. Peter Kastrup, I know he's ill. Anyone can still make it in. It is so early with 3 races left that everybody's got to fight for every single position. Like, more so than ever, Frank. Every point matters.
Yeah, like Timothy's dropped to 11th. And so... I just sometimes you wonder if people are going to do it in spite of themselves. And he's only 3.4 points above 12th, right? And so he could easily find himself out looking in, and all for the want of trying to do negative racing on some other riders. And so maybe mostly negative on him. And what he doesn't realize is that, he's probably thinking, oh, no, I can come back, until everybody else starts blocking him.
Exactly, but I think if you're Timothy, we do finish on Dark Matter Velo today, and I think the confidence and the swagger that he has on that course, I think he knows that if he stays within contention, the 2-time scoring multiplier, the 2.5 on that will come into his favor, but we've seen him fat finger it before.
Yeah, I was going to say Ixnay. I say the last couple times he's raced that course, it has been his nemesis, right? And so I think you definitely, will be seeing. He might have that confidence and that swagger still, but there's got to be some doubt, creeping into the back of his mind.
Incredible racing here from Quentin. Despite missing a race, I think he's still in 3rd if these scorings is correct. So incredible racing from him today. But at what point does Casey start thinking, I don't want to be 2nd seed? Like, I really want that rest. I tried it in the bracket session tournament finale. I had the suboptimal seed going in. I got no rest. I really don't want to be 2nd seed here.
Yeah, like I said, it's an interesting development. All of the people that are in here, Tim is looking to get that, and so very, very interesting how those dynamics will work. And Christian goes down. That might help Timothy.
It will as Christian goes down, but I think Christian has got the strength to get back up. I did hear somewhere that Christian, even on a Saturday, had to negotiate time off work to spend time with us here today. So if you've literally sacrificed your hard-earned dollar in, the outside world to be here, I think that's motivation to go a bit deeper and to get into that hurt locker.
Yeah, absolutely. And you see a nice pack here forming on the right-hand side, but it's got a couple of Cycling Hub people in it, but you've got Cognition, you've got Velocity Vixen. This group could definitely work together on these last two climbs to pull some people back, but look for Cycling Hub to be trying to dial that back as well.
You've got Nigel Doral and Ben Shuey Long just trading turns as well, riding with each other. Fascinating developments with the yellow jerseys, because we always used to see the Flying Dutchman, Peter Kastrup, up near the front, but now that's changed as Ben and as Jonathan tries a block it rocket maneuver, but Cycling Hub wiser to it. You can see Ben shaking his head as well. He's having none of it, yet he's still riding brilliantly. You've got Jeff, you've got Quinton. I mean, Frank, Ryan has been out with sickness, but he's sitting 4th overall. He didn't race the bracketed session tournament. He is looking good for tomorrow.
Yeah, Ryan definitely has the capability, and it'll just be, whether or not the body is responding. But he's been looking good here in the last few days.
Now, bit of an upset here from Team Cycling Hub. Nils Heldens down here with Homer Thompson. He is 10th on the Omnium right now. He was 4th. He was the underdog in the bracketed session tournament. And now he's a danger as he goes down to 11th. He will go down to 12th as the Cognition team moves on through. Louise Soberanese and Moti Pikelny. I think this is their move. We've seen Moti be a teammate for the longest time. Now their roles are swapping around, and Louise is the teammate.
Yeah, this will be interesting. They definitely want to work their way in to the correct bracket. You see Homer here using a power-up, which will put Niels in even more difficulty because he's going to have to make up that gap on his own or choose to use some of his own power-ups.
Oh, and then Louise, Cognition had the right strategy, but they slam into the back of Ben, and so all that momentum they gathered from their long pace line, it just gets nullified by not making the correct lane change.
Yeah, I didn't see it. Did Ben do any blocking? Or
no, Ben literally stood still. Louise and Moti didn't communicate, and they slammed right up into the back.
Very, very interesting. But you've got Tim off the front now with a 12-second gap. Doesn't look like he'll be coming back anytime soon.
The question I think is on everybody's lips, because we saw how dominant Tim was in the bracketed session tournament finale, pretty much winning every single race. How do you stop this man? Because you've got physical equalization, so everybody's on a level playing field. Everybody has access to these tracks and can prepare and have their teammates. How do you prevent Tim Fulford from walking away with it? Because he looks right now as the red-hot favorite.
Well, I think that what people allow Tim to do all of the time is to race his race. They don't initiate. They don't counter. He's usually not being blocked because people haven't stayed with him, early on. And I think that's what it boils down to a lot for Tim is just the initiator. He's aggressive, and that pays dividends in CVRcade.
Halfway through the racing, the blob has returned here, the pack riding dynamics. Every decision matters. You've got to choose your lane. You've got to choose the wheel you draft. Do you draft Velocity Vixen? Do you draft Cognition? Do you draft Cycling Hub? Do you have a teammate? I mean, Frank, we're really seeing the gameplay here on a next level. Everybody has become so good at the game. I mean, this is candy for adults, watching riders having to make every single decision.
Well, I think the other thing that you see here is these other teams are just so reactive to Cycling Hub. It's a little disappointing, actually. You see a lot of these people following Cycling Hub riders, and I'm like, no wonder Tim has a big lead. They're not going to go chase him down. Are you expecting Casey to go chase Tim off the front in the same jersey? That's not going to happen. If you want to chase Tim down, you got to go to the front, and you've got to put the hammer down. And I've been very pleased to see that Jeff has been responding in that area and sort of going to the front. But you kind of have to wonder about CCC and all of that. Now, maybe everybody's
no. Homer Thompson just went into the wheels. Homer's been riding so well. He was making his way back up, and then he slams in to Modi Bikelny. We can only wish for a betterment as Ryan here slows down. Ryan losing his... Oh, he's just resting on up, maybe getting ready. Boy, you gotta feel for Homer.
Yeah, that's unfortunate. He's currently out of the money, so probably not too worried about it. Maybe looking forward till tomorrow. I think some people are playing that strategy. I kind of get the sense that Seb's playing that strategy, but that's opening the door to some of these other people, to make it through. So, interesting here. Now, the other thing I don't really understand, we've got Ryan here. I'm not sure why he's not on the front, looking to help Jeff. I'm not sure why Ben isn't on the front looking to help Jeff. Maybe they're worried about some blocking maneuvers or something. But you've got, I think Jonathan's still up here, isn't he?
Yes.
Yep. So I don't know why these guys aren't in front of the Cycling Hub boys and wreaking some havoc with them, and then also on this last climb. No one's bringing back Tim. Tim's 20 seconds up. Sayonara, game over. Unless he fat fingers something, he's going to be in good stead. So I take it all back. Really, now it's a competition for second place.
I think I was also that point I was going to make, because Tim's lead at the top, Frank, is so significant. I mean, across the board, it was only really the first race he didn't do well in. He has been dominant, and he is securing the lead.
I don't, he's not that far up in front. I don't know what your scoreboard shows. For me, he's only 7.7 points up, and that can vanish in one position in the next couple of races. So I think you can expect maybe Casey and Tim are going every other race here, and then on Dark Matter Velo, every man for himself, and we'll see how that turns out.
Now we've got the scoreboard here. So I think also for the secondary positions, I'm not sure how much energy they have left to chase down a Tim Fulford, etc. We do see Jonathan Heron attacking off the front as we've got Casey on the screen. Jonathan here, I think he's trying to play mind games as we now see him. Jonathan is more obsessed with pulling the block it rocket maneuver than to try and attack off the front. Frank, this is like going into a time capsule, because I remember the day where blocking, where, trying to slow other riders down was the way to go about it, as he tries to get Ryan out again. You see it from above. But if he just spent that energy chasing down Tim, reacting to Tim's move when it comes, as he's catching nobody.
Yeah, well, the other thing is the dance that these riders are playing is amazing, right? And it's you didn't block me, and I didn't go down, and you didn't go down, and Jonathan, I guess, is saying, you know what, I'll risk my 5-second penalty, in a crash and the slowdown, and getting back up to speed, just to get into your head, and it's interesting, but he's a strong rider. He's got a lot of endurance, and so he's obviously feeling pretty good at this point.
Moti and Luis still just at the back here. You can see Moti struggling, so that time off really comes back to haunt him here. He's trying, he's in the money, he's in the top 12 here, but it's not as convincing as a Tim, as a Quinton, as a Casey, as a Ryan. I mean, who would have expected this from Moti Bikelny, one of the pre-race favorites, and that time off, either play for the gallery or Moti really is feeling it here, as Team Cognition on the back foot, Sebastian Kuhn just trying to save it as it can be, but on the front now, the opposite move. Jonathan Heron, the pocket rocket. He's using his power-ups, but he's applying no pressure, so I'm not quite sure. Next level mind games here from Jonathan saying, I don't need these power-ups, I'm just going to use them and then chill.
Well, he's probably worried a little bit about the corners, but also you've got Ellison overtaking Timothy in the back, and so Ellison in 14th, Timothy in 10th. So you've got some minor positions that are really coming to the fore here and could make a big difference. Ellison is at 169 points. And to get into 12th position where Kayla currently resides, she's about 8 points out. And Kayla's behind her in this particular race, maybe fading a little bit, maybe saving something as well. And back up at the front, Jeff's going to make a move, is attacking the front, trying to get into the second position.
It's a good move for Jeff. Jeff has been riding well today. He can take away some confidence from the way he's been racing for Velocity Vixen. They look like Velocity Vixen looks like to be the biggest threat to Team Cycling Hub. Ryan, you've got Jeff, you had Beth for a while out there as well. Vibeke too, until her endurance started kicking in. But Jeff looks good. Can they take down the dominant force that is Team Cycling Hub? As Quinton goes, nope, you cannot. I'm just going to turn on the turbojets. And the only one attempting to follow is Jonathan Heron. But something that I'm noticing with Jonathan is that he's a grinder, Frank. He is not really used to going through the gears and accelerating. He is like just staying on top of the gears.
Well, we know he does a lot of Zwift racing, and I saw in your interview he's like, I'm always in 53-13, 53-12, something like that. But here you have to change your gears. You have to get up and sprint. You've got to sort of really get the power going when you use the power ups, and it looks like he doesn't quite have that skill down yet. And some interesting stuff going on with Modi and Casey up here on the front as well.
We've seen this before.
And you see that Modi's really suffering. Yeah, they're both going hard here.
They are absolutely turning themselves inside out. We saw the inertia battle once before on Temple Run at Termont's Tears Waterfall. Now, Casey comes out victorious. If you see the heart rate differential, you look at the faces here as well. Moti is really hurting, and he's having to spend a lot of energy to get back on terms with Casey, and it isn't going to be the case. But consistency is the key. Now, it doesn't bode well for tomorrow if that's how Moti is racing, but he does have his Cognition teammates up here. He's got Jonathan, but Velocity Vixen wants to throw a spanner in the works. But again, Frank, it's Tim, it's Quinton, it's Casey on the podium.
Yep, it's shaping up for a really good day for Cycling Hub. And, the other teams maybe a little bit embarrassed here, especially with the signing of Casey. You've got Jonathan joining Cognition, which I think is going to be a great signing. But, Jonathan still's got a little bit of his skill levels to develop. And so we'll see how that goes.
The fight for the secondary positions is very much on here. Timothy and Allison fighting further down. Ben looked to be solid near the top, but fading a tiny bit. 11th place, fighting with Nils, fighting with Louise. And up next is Dustball Crit and Dark Matter Velo. Dark Matter Velo, with this many people, could see any result come out. So you've got to grab every single point to be sure that you have a buffer in case you have 1, 2, maybe 3 crashes on 10 laps of Dark Matter Velo. Nils and Ben here trying to give each other a bit of a draft as they fight to the front. Tim has 400 meters remaining. He'll come through the Coliseum here and he'll see the finish line. He's got a 10-second gap down to Casey, 5-second gap to Quinton. Be interesting to see. I think Tim here might give the points to Quinton as Quinton is further down, might need it a bit more. But there's some math going on there, Frank, because they're going to try and see if they can make sure to split their team wisely, get all the seeds they want. I mean, that math is not easy to do on the go.
No, I think they'll, be trying to dial that in. But maybe the best thing to do is just have as many people up top as you can, and then let the chips fall where they may. And just, you're going to have some teammates in your Omnium tomorrow.
Now you got Jeff and Ryan fighting for secondary positions with Jonathan Heron as well. Ryan puts on the block on Jonathan and he gets the position ahead of him. Moti beats Nigel in the sprint, takes a lot out of him. Ben comes ahead of Niels Heldens. Then you've got Sebastian Kuhn fighting with his teammate Luis further down. Timothy versus Allison is a very real fight. 10th and 14th in the Omnium. Timothy needs every single point he can get. So does Allison. Frank, we're coming into the business end. 2 races remain, and I mean, is so close. Like, it's impossible to call in that, 6th to 15th, 20th range who's going to go through.
Well, I think what's interesting is Timothy's got quite a few points here. He's 11 points up, but he's fading. And Dark Matter Velo is a power course for him because he does these amazing sprints. And I think he's in a world of hurt. I think he's in danger of dropping out of the top 12. And Ellison is going to have a lot of endurance. And she looks to be working her way in.
It's going to be fun. Like, this finale here, you have 3 minutes to make sure you refilled your water bottle, to make sure you have a can of Coke, whatever snack peeps, whatever else you want that you've taken with you from the last week. Because this seeding means so much ahead of the weekend. You do not want to end up in the lower bracket. Summit Islands, the most brutal course entire game. 3 laps of it, it's gonna be tough. But we do have Tim dialing in. Tim, once more at the top, dominating. What do you do when you go into the attack? You have your gap. Do you have a one eye on tomorrow and one eye on today, or how do you play that out?
So it was a massive team effort, but everyone it looked really great in peloton, but everyone was on the outside of the corner. So I just thought, well, let's launch and see what happens. But that gap was all made up on the descent. I got 10 seconds on each of the first and second lap descents because people are just too nervous when they're in groups. The other boys just sat in, hopefully had a bit of an easier ride. I took the best line. So Quinton and Casey going hard, and then we just brought it home for a 1, 2, 3. But massive team effort, and I buried myself, but I think I'm through. So to Dust Bowl Crit, which I quite like, and Dark Matter Velo, which I hate. So we'll see what happens.
Well, I can't wait to see. So far been dominant. Hopefully save some energy ahead of tomorrow. Not sure if she's finished, but we do also have Kayla in the broadcast. And Kayla, from where I see on the points, you're currently on the cusp. You are the last of the 12 on through. You've got 2 races left. I mean, coming back from the injury, what's the fitness like? What's the stamina like with 2 races remaining?
Wow. I used to do 2 Omniums back to back, and all I have to say is that I'm feeling it, but I'm not giving up. I'm on the 12th position, so it's enough motivation to not do Summit Islands tomorrow. So I'm just going to give it everything I got. But, I mean, I'm hurting, but I'm sure everybody else is hurting too. So, just going to give it everything I got.
I am certain that everybody else is equally hurting when you see the faces, when you see the riders racing. So good luck, Kayla. I know you've just finished the last race, so we'll let you get on ready. But Frank, we'll bring up the scoreboard as it stands in a second. But 40 seconds remain before Dust Bowl Crit. Anything is up for grabs. Who do you like around that 12 spot area? Who do you like to go on through?
Wow. It looks like Kayla's fading a little bit. And she's right there on the bubble, so she might fall out here. I would expect Niels to hold on, and then the question is, how is Timothy gonna fare here on Dust Bowl Crit?
That is the question that's on everybody's mind. He is one of the Cycling Hero riders who potentially is a great threat in the finale because of that Dark Matter Velo. You've got to be careful on it. And here we see the start, the pack, the peloton, everybody racing for the first corner. You want to be the one applying the hurt. You don't want to be the one hurting. And we see it with Quinton, Jonathan Heron. But Frank, if there's a wheel you don't want to be on, it's the Block It Rocket.
Yeah, I would be very nervous, to say the least, being on that wheel for sure. And, we'll just see how it plays, right? tough course.
Louis down.
People already going down. Yep.
Christian
people already
Whiteman
going
down too. He's in the 13th position. He's just, as they say, the first loser. And so that crash for him will be tough to make up. He's going to have to fight. But at the front, everyone fighting to keep their position. As you've got Timothy Tamont in 4th position. He is fighting on through. He understands what's on display here. He can't leave it up to Dark Matter Velo, because with this many racers, there's going to be blocking in the lanes. There are going to be mistakes. That initial sprint, Frank, you've got to lay everything you've got on the line here in Dust Bowl Crit.
Yeah, look for, and they get Peter to go out. Mistake there by Peter, more caused by a lot of the traffic that Cycling Hub have around. I would expect now for Cycling Hub to block for Timothy and Quentin to pull him, but I just don't think, look, Timothy's already on the right-hand side, looking a little dead here as everybody is going up this hill hard. Looks like he's going to try and maintain it, but these 3 laps are going to hurt Timothy like no other 3 laps have in his life if he's going to stay this far up.
We've got Kayla coming into this race with the scoreboard. I can see she has a 6-point gap down to Christian Whiteman, and so she's got to keep that at bay. Then further down, she's got Allison Kubota, who's 14th. She can move her way up. You've got Jennifer Garcia, who's herding down further down. So it's close, but a lot of the riders are secured at this point towards the top, Frank, where they just have to stay safe. At what point do you put a pin in it and say, you know what, I think I'm secured for tomorrow. I'm going to start resting up?
Well, you're probably near that time, but then you've got this whole teammate thing developing, right? So your Cycling Hub, your Tim, your Casey, and you're like, okay, we can take it. Oh, you know what, Timothy? Dang it, you're close to the bubble line. Okay, we've got to work for you, and that's the essence of team, and it looks like that's exactly what they're doing. Yeah,
I like it. You have a little, I don't even know what to say, like a little bit of a Homeland Security patrol around Timothy Tamont, making sure he's packaged.
Jonathan goes down. That could really, really hurt Jonathan in his quest to be in the top 12. So he's going to have to get on his horse and ride. He's only 4 points above the margin here, and so a position will definitely cost him.
And we've got Dark Matter Velo up next. I can't imagine that Jonathan has really nailed that track just yet with the woes he's had crashing in some of these corners. He needs to finish top 10, top 8 in this one to take a solid cushion into the next one, because there are certain races in here that are good, but Casey goes down in the corner. First real crash we've seen from Casey, but he seems to be secured in that top 2.
Yeah, he's definitely going through. Now the question is, on an even or an odd, and maybe that crash will even work to Casey's advantage. But very interesting going on back here. Kayla's in the hard fade. Looks like maybe Christian has got a lot more in the tank here, and she's right there on the bubble. Ellison working her way back up to 13th.
Ooh, Jeff down too as well.
Yeah, so
Ben.
Yep. Yes.
Allison.
That's that unforced error there, and that's costing her huge. She's got to get back on her horse and ride. I was like, she's working her way back here into the top 12. And now she's back in 14th, but she was like within a fractions of points of getting in front of Kayla. So now just a little, maybe a lap and a half left for Ellison to make the difference and recover from that crash.
Oh, let's see if Casey puts a block on Ben here. Inertia on the left. Casey opts not to do it. Timothy Tamont is currently leading the race. Team Cycling Hub pulling out great teamwork here to let Timothy go off the front. But how does he cope with the pressure? We saw him on his track.
Ellison. Sorry, Ellison. Inertia, I thought for sure she was going to eat it in that corner, but she makes it through, and she's working her way back up. She's into 13th, so very, very scary times between Kayla and Ellison at this point.
Kayla's with Christian here. So the real fight, the real story is down here in 12th, 13th, 14th. Even Sebastian here, if he finds his magic and really wants to dig deep, he could do it. But he seems comfortable sitting where he is in 15th. But Kayla, the fade, will it be in the end heartbreak as she's got the spot that everybody is gunning for? Christian, Allison, Sebastian, Vibeke, they all want it. But meanwhile, on the front, Ryan Goldenberg is chasing down Timothy Tamont. He sits in the 4th spot, and Timothy's now 5th. I mean, Frank, I ever wonder here if you do the mental calculation and try and get cheeky and try and see if you can nail an odd seeding.
Yeah, if you're up at the top, you have the room to play with that. Oh, Casey goes by Ellison, hurting her chances, moving her back down to 14th. And so, Ellison right there on the cusp. It's going to all come down for these, people in the sort of the 10th through 15th positions. It's all going to come down to Dark Matter Velo. We, of course, expected that to be a storyline today. It's the one I'm concentrating on. Of course, you've got a great storyline at the top with the favorites stamping their authority on the day, but I'm really enjoying this mid-pack racing for the overall Omnium.
We don't often get to concentrate on the mid-pack to the backpack racing here, and I'm really thoroughly enjoying it. As you see the racers who don't always get the love near the top, now they are the main storyline here. Christian, Allison, Kayla, Sebastian, Jonathan, as Moti is struggling. This will give a lot of riders confidence ahead of tomorrow. Team Cognition's team leader visibly in the hurt locker, and he isn't safe either, as Homer Thompson just absolutely just demoralizes Modi Bikelny as he flies on through. And Homer, he's got a chance, but he finds himself further down in the standings. He's 16th. If he pulls one off here, he could do it. Meanwhile, on the front, Ryan is up against Cycling Hub. He puts a block on Tim Fulford, but this is a tough ask for Velocity Vixen.
Yeah, absolutely. A lot of power-ups getting deployed. Ellison had already deployed hers, so in essence, she's losing points here. But she's got the heart of a lion, and she's on the front going up that hill, trying to hold off Daniel and Ben and Jonathan.
500 meters remain. Quinton Molinace has just passed Timothy Tamont. So Quinton wants these points. He wants to try and secure his 3rd place finish here. Meanwhile, Timothy, they've only got 400 meters remaining. That's it for Dustball Crit. Then we head to all or nothing in Dark Matter Velo. 10 laps will be all you've got to make up that distance to the top. Get into the top 12 and avoid Summit Islands in the lower bracket. Cycling Hub once more, 1, 2, and 3. But if Jeff Rooney, oh, he's going to get boxed in here. Jeff Rooney walking into a Cycling Hub sandwich, and Tim almost gets blocked there. But then you've got Tim putting on the block on Jeff Rooney, opening the door from Timothy. Excellent teamwork as they take 1st and 2nd. Jeff will take 3rd. They even wait up for Timothy, Frank. Excellent teamwork from Team Cycling Hub.
Yeah, just locking Timothy in. Great riding.
Daniel LeBlanc, that was dirty. That was brilliant. If we could bring that up on the replay later on. Dodging the block that Ben was trying to put onto him. Comes around. And then Niels, what? I'm not sure what happened there with Cognition. Maybe trying to set up Allison, but in the end, ends up hurting them. So Frank, sorry, a lot of things happening there.
Yeah, absolutely. You've got Christian and Kayla were separated by less than a point. Now it's 1.3 points. You've got Ellison right behind them, 6.2 points behind as well. And so what you're going to see here is that for these people in this region, including Niels here, they're all so close that Dark Matter Velo is just going to make, you got Jonathan. Really, you've got Modi not too far up. If he makes big mistakes on Dark Matter Velo, he could find himself on the outside looking in, even though he's at 9th. Looks like Nigel's a little bit more secure, but he's got to stay upright, just finish in a good position. And then you've got all the way down to Sebastian, could easily work their way back in. Homer, a far outside chance, but it's going to be difficult unless he wins the race. Same with VBK.
Absolutely fantastic racing. I'm not sure if Moti Pikelny can hear me. I do see he's talking in the chat. We'll attempt one more time to go to Moti. Moti, amazing racing today.
Yeah,
You sit in ninth, but not
it's
entirely
like
safe
now.
just yet. How do you feel about Dark
I want
Matter
to see the
Velo?
full score, though. I can't see, obviously, so
Yeah,
I'm not sure
I
how
mean,
much we're ahead.
I
I
think.
figure like we're pretty secure as long as we play good passing
Oh.
time. But I'm not sure.
Yeah, I mean, we got to just keep
I'll
it
let
upright
you. They're
and
talking
try to
strategy,
play.
so we'll let them go back. As you can hear, I think that was Jonathan in the audio chat, loud and clear. So I do apologize, but this is the thing: when you're on the stream, you gotta be around for interviews. I want to go as well to Kayla, as I think she's back on the bike now. Kayla, 12 spot, you gave it everything. Now, Dark Matter Velo, we've seen you time and time again on this track. Can you hold off Christian, Allison, Sebastian, Homer, and stay clear of the lower bracket?
I'm going up against some great competition, so it could be anyone's game at this point. So I'm just going to try to focus, and this is huge right here, being in the 12th position, and then so I just got to focus, and really that's all I can do is focus. You never know what's going to happen on Dark Matter Velo.
We'll let you focus, and then Frank Garcia and I will take the preview from here, Frank. The racing, Dark Matter Velo. The esports defining moment of CVRcade happened on this a week ago. I think today this is going to be so tense. You're going to see riders taking risks. You're going to see riders being 1 second in, 1 second out. This is going to be good.
Oh, yeah. You've got Moti, Jonathan, Niels, Kayla, Christian, Ellison, Sebastian, and with a far outside chance, Homer. But these are the sort of the six to watch, and very tense racing for them, right? Because really, in essence, they don't even have to care about the front. They can just watch the front go away. It's all about, them in between. Well, unless you're Homer, right? Homer's got to go to the front, stay at the front in order to work his way, into the top 12, or he'll be racing tomorrow morning early to get into the semifinals. So very, very interesting racing here, sort of the edge of your seat, nail-biting stuff for these racers. And maybe some shenanigans going on at the top, for seating positions. Jeff doing very well today, coming into his own. Ryan in the top 5, and then Timothy, gifted by his team, looks to be secure, to going through as well.
But the big storyline has to be the dominance of Team Cycling Hub. Oh my goodness, have they just looked undefeatable at the top. Maybe that'll change here as we watch the racing get ready. You've got Casey Shum, you've got Kale Laguna. This is where it matters. You've got to be first out of the gate, as we see Peter sprinting forward, Timothy sprinting forward, Tim is up there, Quinton is there. Who will make the first mistake? So far, it's Jonathan Heron, who is out. He's in 13th, 14th. Now Nils Heldens is in jeopardy. Everybody can change. Anything can change here. Who wins it? Who goes out? Who goes on through? And Frank, for the first time really on Dark Matter Velo, you want to take a conservative line as Ben Shuilong also goes down.
Yeah, this is very, very interesting. Oh, somebody
Peter.
else just went down there, Peter. So Peter's definitely on the outside looking in. Say sayonara. You'll be racing in the morning tomorrow. You've got Kayla trying to hold on desperately to her 12th position, but moving up to 10th. Jeff out the back there probably won't ruin his day. He'll still be in the top 12. But you've got Kayla working her way up to 10th. Moti holding on to 9th. Neil's holding on to 11th. Sebastian
is in 12th.
Back in.
How?
Switching with Christian. So very tight racing here on the bubble. Jonathan on 13th, first loser, but that's going back and forth. So wow. This is going to be a long 10 laps. Tension filled for these riders.
Now. Oh, Tim goes down, but that doesn't quite mean that much. But Sebastian has saved so much energy today. We thought he was taking it easy, and now he's in 10th. Sebastian Kuhn, the destroyer. He's playing chess while everyone else is playing checkers. This man, I want his stale bread and water. He's got something else going on there. Fantastic. As we look further down, Kayla looks good. Jonathan comes on through. And now Sebastian is out, Frank. Every position here. Oh, my God.
Yeah, every position matters. And Tim made a huge difference making that mistake and going out the back because he opened up points. And so, very, very interesting, what's playing here. Kayla's feeling a little bit better. She's in 10th, but Sebastian could taste it. And then the popsicle, the lollipop got taken away. The question is, can he work his way back into it?
Oh, Alison Kubota in no man's land with her teammate Jonathan Heron. Jonathan just on the inside here. Alison looking out. Sebastian Kuhn. At what point here do you look at your team as there's a block? Timothy Tamont takes out Sebastian Kuhn. He's through, Frank. And then Timothy just goes, I don't need these points anymore. I'm going to look to take you out. And so this is a next level move.
Yeah, absolutely. And right now you have Sebastian stuck, and he's got to do a sprint here. Yep, he's got to go back. And so a lot of the gameplay playing here, and Timothy setting up
takes
to do
Sebastian out too!
block.
Oh my god, this is cycling up. They're playing for money, and they are just taking the gloves off. They took out Ben, they've taken out Sebastian here, who could get on through, Frank, and I'm sure Sebastian, he doesn't show it, but inside right now, I think he's fuming.
Oh yeah, there's a seething going on. Like I said the other day, Spanish word rabias, which is a little bit hard to translate into English, but sort of a fire in your belly, a little bit of revenge, a little bit of anger, all mixed together for good measure. That's what Sebastian's feeling right now.
Moti's in 10th spot here. He's at risk of going out as well. If one of the Cycling Hub boys finds him, they could take him out. 3 laps remaining here, but it comes down to Allison, Sebastian, the teammates. I think Moti looks safe here. If you look on up, so far safe. Casey, Tim, Quinton, Ryan, Jeff, Timothy, Ben, Nigel. I think Kayla is looking good now in 5th. She needs to avoid crashing. So conservative racing. Oh, she goes down!
Oh no! No!
Oh, the jinx! Oh, the Timothy comes on through, and she's 11th now, Frank.
Yeah, that, wow. Boy, what a mistake that was. Will she be able to recover from that or not lose any more? You've got Jonathan in 12th now. You've got Ellison in 14th. You've got Christian right behind Kayla in 13th. These are heady times. And you've got Sebastian, I think, sort of fading off the back with that, sort of seething chest feeling. And you've got Timothy, looks like maybe being, some blocks being played back and forth.
They're all fighting for the secondary positions. They go down. Christian Weidman, though, as Vibeke goes down. Christian needs to beat Kayla to go on through here. He needs to finish ahead of Kayla. He's currently on the cusp. He's in 13th position here. Tim's further up, but now Quinton Molinez on the front. He will win Dark Matter Velo. Great racing from him. He finishes in 3rd seed. Tim gets 2nd seed here. So suboptimal seeding at the end of the day for the clear favorite. Casey takes 1st, then Casey crossed the line here, 1st seed coming in. You can see the finger being shown. Nigel will be 7th, good seed for him. Jeff will be 5th. It's like really favorable seeding for a few riders. Kayla will not go down despite the best efforts from Timothy Tamont, and you can see how much that means to her.
That was, she made that a lot more nail biting than it had to be. Looks like has Jonathan hasn't crossed the finish line yet. Oh, he crosses the finish line. Looks like to me he's secured 12th position. I think looks like he's locked in at this point. So he just barely makes it. Ellison just on the outside looking in, missing it by a few points there. Wow. What was done to Sebastian there in this race? And I have to say, I think Sebastian was playing it conservatively, saving energy, and maybe just shooting for the top racing tomorrow. But boy, it cost him in the end, right? I mean, he put himself into a position where Cycling Hub could block him right out of the top 12, and so he'll have to race in the morning. Now, that being said, Sebastian finished 2nd last weekend. Boy, is he going to be motivated tomorrow.
I do want to say,
wow.
because Like Team Cycling Hub, they do feel for having a bad rep. They're amazing racers. They're really clever, and what they did to Sebastian, like, you're racing for money, all's fair and square, but you can't complain about having a bad rep and then literally do what you just did there. So it goes both ways. Congratulations, amazing racing, great teamwork today. Clearly the strongest team, as we'll get a word with our first seed coming into Sunday. Casey, congratulations. You've got where you want to be. I remember you saying last weekend you weren't satisfied with third. How satisfied right now are you with the first seed?
Yeah, that was fun. I'm real happy with the first seed. I'm good to get that break. I don't know exactly how we're spread out, but I know at least Quentin and Tim and I are kind of spread out in the prelims, which helps. So, yeah, it was a good day. My goal today was top fives. Top fives got through. And now it's time to recover and come out and have some more fun tomorrow. This was good racing, man. That first hour was hard. The second, third, and fourth race were brutal.
So that pack riding dynamic today, how did that change things having 23 riders in the mix?
Lakeview Lanes was probably the toughest, which is kind of why I wanted to get out front, and I'm glad we did, because trying to jockey from, like, the outer lanes are open and the inner lanes are open and you can hip check somebody and get in an open lane, and that was probably the biggest challenge with the pack. So you had to burn a little bit to get away from that.
Well, Casey, you've succeeded in qualifying for Sunday for tomorrow. First seed, I'll let you get rested up. Joining you in the finals tomorrow, but as a second seed, is Tim Fulfer. Congratulations on the qualifications, Tim. As the team leader, how satisfied are you with having every single member of your team that started today qualified directly on through?
Yeah, really satisfying. We knew we had to get first and second if we wanted a 3-2 split between the semi-finals, so that we didn't have 5 of us in one semi-final and therefore couldn't get everyone to the final. As I said earlier, I worked hard in the first half to get that lead, and then the last 3 races I just really worked for the team to get Timothy on Dust Bowl crit, and then just make sure Niels was ahead of me, so he got plenty of points in Dark Velo. So yeah, just good racing, really good teamwork. Happy with it. I'm quite happy I don't have to go into the repechage, the best of the rest bracket, because that will hurt, and that's 3 hours of straight racing. So everyone in the team's going to come in fresh tomorrow. Plan worked. Can't complain, really.
Can't complain. Name of the game today for Team Cycling Hub. Everything went your way. Once more, congratulations, Tim, and we'll see you tomorrow in the evens bracket semi-final. Now, we've also got Ben Shuilong. He qualifies in 8th. It's been an up and down day for you here, Ben. You've done quite well in the earlier races, then later on. What do you take away from today's racing?
Yeah. So you're definitely going to race, though, yeah, Peter?
Oh, I think Ben may be in communication with his team here as he's chatting on through. You can see him on the screen. We'll let them finish off as it changes. Maybe we can get a word from Moti P. Kilney as the racing has finished. We tried a few times, but of course, the team leader, he has to chat with the team. Moti, by the skin of your teeth, you get Jonathan, you get you on through. You tried to get Sebastian and Allison, but it wasn't meant to be. What's the mood like in the Cognition team camp?
Oh, we're still doing math. That was fun racing, very challenging. It was really hard to try to look at the scoreboard and figure out how positions changed and what would happen if we let people pass or didn't let people pass on Dark Matter Velo. Boy, was it close. Even though we didn't get as many into the automatic semifinal, I think Allison and Sebastian have a real good chance in the earlier race tomorrow, and I think we're going to have a great team showing in the semifinals and finals. Fun racing. That was tougher than I expected. It was amazing to see so many people out simultaneously. Total different feel. Felt like I was on pins and needles with moving my avatar around in so much traffic. and the pack stayed together on a lot of these courses. It was just some of the hardest racing I've ever done. I'm wiped out and excited about tomorrow, and I want to watch back and see what happened. We got to take notes. This isn't just about this World Cup, but this is practice for the next World Cup too. So a lot to learn from what happened today. A lot of fun, and we need to get a lot of recovery for tomorrow.
I love that mentality. Always a learning game. I'll let you recover, Modi. Congratulations on going on through and bringing Jonathan with you. And good luck to the rest of the Cognition riders. I'll be riding tomorrow morning. Allison, Sebastian, Luis, etc. Now, Kayla, we saw the biggest celebration from you out of everybody. What did it mean to you to go on through and be qualified directly on through to the semifinals?
Oh, it means so much. Just competing in the whole the first season, and you're just giving it everything you got to make it into tomorrow's racing. And so when I crashed there on Dark Matter Velo, my heart just went out. I was like, no, not all this hard work, and I'm not going to lose it now. So a lot of adrenaline going right there. It was funny on the timing there, Jesper. As soon as you said it, I went boom.
Sorry, I can only apologize for that. Commentator's jinx.
No, it was funny though, but yeah, I was looking at my heart rate, and I didn't know if it was the adrenaline going so much that it was so high, or just my tiredness. So yeah, just overall great racing today, such high level racing, and just looking forward to tomorrow. Like today was tough, so I just can't imagine tomorrow. It's going to be even tougher. So just going to have to rest tonight and bring it tomorrow.
Best of luck tomorrow, Kayla. Look forward to see a rested Kayla ahead of the racing tomorrow. Now, Frank, we've heard from the majority of the racers. We've seen the races. We've seen the 12 riders going on through. What were the big conclusions you made from the racing today?
Well, the first conclusion is chat is dying to see a scoreboard, so maybe we could show the leaderboard as well. I know it's you can scroll to the right, by the way. Just click on a rider and scroll to the right, and it'll be a little bit hard to see as well. But I think even if people can just see the positions and the overall points, but very, very close. I think the fact that chat is asking for the scoreboards is indication that all the viewers are understanding Omnium scoring as well, and following along in that. And so really interesting day of racing. We saw tension. We thought maybe Kayla was going to pull Timothy and Quentin of last week and crash her way out of the top 12, but she was able to hang on. And Jonathan just barely able, the block at the rocket, barely able to, move in. We saw Sebastian getting blocked out. I tell you, what? Not only does that have to sort of create that fire in the belly for Sebastian, but the whole of Team Cognition is going to be, looking a little bit different tomorrow. And I wonder how that'll play. Right, I think Cycling Hub, sort of the Darth Vader, the Empire sort of feel to them. But I wonder if they're going to get blocked a lot tomorrow. They look to be marking some people, and maybe Casey made the best choice ever, or maybe tomorrow Casey gets blocked out the back and gets put on tilt. So a lot of interesting stories developing for tomorrow.
I'm just trying to show you guys the scoreboard here. I will bring up the scoreboard after all the highlights are over, so stick around. There's 3 more minutes here of highlights on your screen from today's racing, so if you do want to see it, I am trying to get all the races to show, but since there's so many races today, it's tough to actually show you the points and their names on the screen. I'm just trying to move my widget around because the UI is customizable, and I've never been in this position before, so I do apologize, but thank you for being so engaged. I mean, this was just today, Frank. Like, chat, you should come back tomorrow because this was just today. This was to qualify on through. Imagine when there's money on the line.
Well, I think it's going to be very, very interesting how things play tomorrow morning, right? So really it's going to be about not getting eliminated in the first race, right? So I think, Ellison and I think Sebastian, have a very, very good chance of going through the. We've noticed Ellison doing a little bit more blocking as of late. She's someone who just basically never blocked before, but you could definitely see that, especially if she gets tired tomorrow, right? That's sometimes, as you saw with Timothy, that's where it sort of comes up, right? You're like, well, I don't know if I've got the legs to be on the front, but I can definitely take someone out the back with me, and we'll just have to see. Now, on the other hand, Ellison could just wake up tomorrow, and she's one of those people who I think has great endurance, and she could just be on fire, and off the front. A lot of times in these situations, people will be making new PRs, a lot of hard riding out there today, and cycling have put a lot of energy in. And so I would expect, for instance, Timothy to be struggling tomorrow. But maybe, he's going to eat enough of his pastries, right off of getting on the bike, and feel really good tomorrow. But I can tell you who I think will be feeling good tomorrow. I think Sebastian will be feeling good. I think Casey will be feeling good. I think Tim will be feeling good.
Quentin looked good.
Quentin looked good. Now here's a struggle. Quentin didn't finish all the races, and so he still has to wait for the officials to say, he gets a pass. Otherwise, Quentin could just be out. And so, nobody's talking about that, and probably everybody thinking the officials are going to agree. But it didn't look like a game error. So that's left up to the officials. I'm sure within the next couple of hours we'll get a final ruling on that. There were some people who had tech difficulties, Beth, and I think the officials are leaning towards certainly giving her a pass into tomorrow, as well. And so maybe with those passes happening, Quentin will be on the good side. But had he been the only one out, I'm pretty sure the officials would have been like, that's racing. You had a mechanical, and that's the way that goes. So
it's still impressive.
A little bit of intrigue there.
To go out in the third race and have 0 points, yet still be third.
Yeah, no, look, and I'm sure everybody's like, what? Wait, no, you can't send Quentin out. But like I said, that's something left up to the officials. That's the way that the rules were written. But, and it would be a shame to see Quentin go out. Certainly on top of his game, certainly a favorite for tomorrow, and you certainly wouldn't want to see a mechanical take him out. So we should know about that in the next couple of hours.
Now, I'm trying to show you the full scoreboard. Now, you can see the scoreboard is so big, we can't get the names and the total points on the screen, so I'll help you out. You can see the score points throughout all races today. First, you've got Casey Shum taking 391.5. Then you've got Tim in second place with 387.2. So, highest scoring record definitely set in this Omnium. Then you've got Quentin, of course, pending the commissioner's decision with 368.6. You've got Ryan Goldenberg, 310. So between the top 3, top 4, there was a big drop. Jeff Rooney, amazing racing today from the Jeff Meister, 295.9. Then you got Timothy Tamont, 279.4, I believe there. And then closely behind him, Nigel Doyle, Ben Shuilong. You've got Niels Heldens, Moti Pikelny just sneaking through by about 6 points. You've got Kayla Laguna and then Jonathan Heron getting on through with 2 points. You can see the gap, 244, 241.1, 239 down to Christian, and then it gets further down. It all came down to Dark Matter Velo. Chat, if you've loved it, and I do apologize for not having the scoreboard up more often. It's not always we have 8 races like this, but I can't wait to see tomorrow.
Hey, Jesper?
Yes.
Can you scroll left just so everybody can see sort of the names in order? I think they'd like to see that if you just click and hit your left arrow.
There we
If
go.
you just click, there you go. Yeah, thank you very much for that. Sorry, I'm taking all these directions from chat.
Well, chat usually knows best, so we'll just allow the chat to be in control today. But on one condition, chat. You click the follow button right now. It's not every day Frank takes directions from somebody else and you made Frank take directions. So you better click that follow button down below to pay back respects. But come back tomorrow, guys, because first
And Jesper,
yeah?
there is directions I take. I take some directions from a certain individual every day. I just want you to know that, right? So I'll leave you with that thought and look forward till tomorrow.
Nope. But yes, come back tomorrow. Summit Islands, first up, lower bracket. Watch grown men and women cry as they have to take on the slopes, the grueling slopes created by community member. I hope you've all enjoyed it. Somebody tomorrow will win $5,000. And second place is taking home more money. Third place, fourth place, oh my goodness. From all of us at CVR, from all of the racers, it's been amazing. We'll see you all tomorrow for more CVRcade World Cup. But no, Beth, your goes crashing down. Determination, the suffering, the ability to... And she's unleashed everything in this attack. See just how much that win means to him. All the marvels. Kayla versus Allison, and to the line. Kayla Laguna takes the victory.